Tonight, fire crews on edge as Sydney cops yet another scorcher. 7 people killed on our roads in just 24 hours, prompting safety pleas as people head away for the holidays. Grief and anger grip Israel as its military accidentally shoots dead 3 hostages in Gaza. Interest rate and cost of living relief, the Prime Minister pins his hopes on a brighter 2024. And a decision at last for one of the NRL's biggest stars as Jerome Luai plots his move from the Panthers to the Tigers.
This is 9 News with Mark Burrows.
Good evening. Sydney has sweltered through a second weekend of soaring temperatures, with the mercury reaching the mid-30s today. From the west to the east, people did everything they could to cool off, but fire crews were on edge, pouncing on flare-ups across the state.
Orange flames lighting up green scrub, smoke smothering the Hawkesbury. The only way to tame this fire from the air. Rinse and repeat for water bombers, soaking a grass fire flaring at Jordan Springs near Penrith. The Hunter bushfire reignited at Abermain. It's now burned through more than 750 hectares, but tonight is under control. While west of Taree on the mid-north coast, smoke saw water bombers swing into action. Sydney's summer heat, not for the faint-hearted.
Pretty hot and sticky. Yeah, very humid.
Athletes undergoing their monthly time trials on the Nepean early this morning and working very hard for it.
For the athletes, it's obviously tough going, you know.
On the banks, many were keen to get their morning walk in early.
Perfect at the moment. If we could stay like this all the time, we'd be right.
At Homebush, Wiggles fans went straight from the concert to the water features. Children's parties set up in the shade, while talented cricketers couldn't help but have a hit. By 9 a.m, Bondi was already swarming. Hats on, tents up and straight in. In the city, the rising temperatures didn't deter visitors to the rocks. Circular Quay packed out with tourists and locals heading out on the harbour. While Barangaroo Pool became the perfect relief for citygoers. Along the coast, crystal clear conditions at Cronulla, Boat Harbour, barely a spare parking spot. Clovelly, an Australian postcard. Manly umbrellas dotted from end to end. Temperatures across our city and the western suburbs are sitting around 5 degrees above the December average today, and there could be many more days like this ahead. The Bureau of Meteorology saying we may be trending towards one of our warmer Decembers. Authorities warning people to take extra care in the heat, which is set to spike again in the days ahead.
We're anticipating a 10% increase in our total 000 volume, and this equates to roughly 300 extra 000 calls a day.
Zara James, 9 News.
A man has died after being pulled from a backyard pool in Botany. Paramedics arrived just after midday and performed CPR on the man in his 50s. He was unable to be revived. Well, it's been a tragic 24 hours on our roads with at least 7 people, including a 17-year-old boy, killed across the state. Road safety campaigners are tonight pleading with the public to take more care as the Christmas rush gets underway.
A mangled wreck engulfed by flames on the M5 at Revesby. And a 17-year-old driver trapped inside. Scattered car parts showing the force of the impact into the guardrail around 11:30 last night, which tragically cost the teenager his life.
It's doubly a tragic situation when we lose somebody so young. I mean, we just don't know what that person would have gone on to do. Their whole life was ahead of them.
He's not the only one lost on our roads in the last 24 hours. This afternoon, a man and woman were killed outside Wagga Wagga after their car hit a tree. 2 motorcyclists were also killed, one near Maitland, the other in Chewina near Cowra. Yesterday afternoon, about 20 kilometres northeast of Moree, a truck and car collision claimed the life of a 51-year-old woman, while in Orange, a 49-year-old man died in a crash this afternoon.
Well, then we've just got to understand that driving is going to be the riskiest thing a person's going to do on a daily basis.
While it was a lucky escape for this driver and the residents of the 2 homes in Bonnyrigg. Just after 10 last night, a 25-year-old driver ploughed straight through both yards at Lalich Avenue, knocking down fences and crashing through a wall. In Lakemba, a taxi, an Audi sedan and a Honda Odyssey collided just after 4 this morning. The 7 people who were inside the 3 cars weren't seriously hurt. Right now, the roads are full of people travelling to visit friends and family for the festive season. Authorities are pleading with everyone to take care, and from December 20, police will be enforcing double demerits.
The fine's only one part of the problem. If you end up killing someone or hurting someone, the price that you'll pay for the rest of your days will be far greater than that.
Maggie Rayworth, 9 News.
Australian borrowers could be in for some relief next year, with easing inflation in the United States increasing hopes of a rate cut here. The move could also bring political relief for the government ahead of an election shaping up to be fought on cost of living issues.
It's been a big year.
The PM looking back on the year with a nod to Australians struggling with everyday costs.
Global inflation is being felt here at home. Families are feeling pressure.
And with his government under pressure to find solutions,
we're seeing a government with no answers.
The opposition also sees an opportunity. Today, unveiling the Liberal candidate for the Victorian seat of Aston, claimed by Labor in a by-election earlier this year, as it readies for an election fight on the cost of living front.
Families in Aston are doing it really tough, and we see no reason as to why it's not going to sadly continue to be the case up until the next election.
There is one reason things could improve.
The fight against inflation is a global one. The US is in the lead, and over there, they're starting to think they've won the war.
America's central bank has indicated it could cut rates 3 times next year, raising hopes Australia may head down the same path.
It's increasingly likely that we get rate cuts in Australia within the next year.
With Australians due to head to the polls by May 2025, a rate cut before then could ease some of the political pressure on Labor, which went to the last election promising to improve the cost of living. It's still promising things will get better.
But we've got a big agenda for 2024, delivering more cost of living relief.
But in these uncertain economic times, there are no guarantees.
The grind is going to stay mostly in place through next year.
Fiona Willan, 9 News.
There's outrage and anger tonight after Israel's Defence Force admitted to killing 3 Israeli hostages in Gaza by mistake. 3 of the captives were spotted by the army during its ground invasion, soldiers identifying them as a threat and opening fire.
Yotam Haim, Samir Talalka and Alon Shamriz, 3 young men who were kidnapped and held captive by Hamas for 10 long weeks. But it was those tasked with saving them who mistakenly shot these hostages dead. The IDF expresses deep remorse, says this spokesperson. The men were mistaken for terrorists during combat in Gaza City. It's unclear whether they were abandoned by Hamas or if they somehow escaped. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has called it an unbearable tragedy and that the entire state of Israel will mourn, but insists we will bind up our wounds, learn the lessons and continue with a supreme effort to return all our abductees home safely. That will mean little to the families of the 3 men who have held hope for so long. Tonight, relatives of hostages protesting in Tel Aviv over the devastating mistake. 28-year-old Yotam filmed this video on October 7 before he was snatched from his kibbutz. His mother has campaigned tirelessly for his release, even flying to Australia as part of a delegation to meet the Prime Minister.
He loves animals, he has a big heart, very special person. Of course, we want him back soon, as soon as it's possible.
The casualties in this war are mounting. 18,000 Palestinians have been killed in less than 3 months. America now urging Israel to scale down its offensive.
Certainly more can be done to protect innocent life, and we're going to continue to urge and work with our Israeli counterparts to that end.
Part of the complexity here is that we're fighting in a civilian environment.
That burden does not lessen the IDF's responsibility to act in a way that distinguishes between terrorist targets and innocent people.
In the United States, Lauren Tomasi, 9 News.
A man has been charged after allegedly tasering and attempting to kidnap a man in Banksia in Sydney South. Police say he was one of 3 men who assaulted a 39-year-old in March, leaving him with burns and lacerations. Yesterday, police executed a search warrant in Miller near Liverpool, finding a gun, GPS tracking devices and nearly $4,000 in cash. Wild storms have lashed Queensland's south coast, leaving 1 man dead in Brisbane. Heavy rain and massive hail caused widespread damage across the region, which recorded winds stronger than tropical cyclone Jasper.
This is the aftermath of a storm cell bearing the strength of a Category 3 cyclone. Queensland's southeast corner didn't see it coming.
It just really started to rain, the wind went crazy, and I made it into that bay there just before the roof came over.
The system unleashing about 6 minutes of fury, suburb by suburb.
An event like this, like a microburst coming out of a severe thunderstorm, tends to be quite short-acting, quite short-lived.
It sent caravans sliding and flipped a big double.
Oh, no!
Trees toppled onto cars.
Holy!
Hail bounced off the bitumen. There were 190,000 lightning strikes. The system, short, sharp and deadly. These are a 30-year-old man's final moments captured on CCTV. While moving a fallen tree from the road, he was electrocuted by a falling power line.
The atmosphere was really quite unstable, and unfortunately it didn't take very long to see some quite powerful severe thunderstorms.
Wind speeds of 169 kilometres an hour were recorded, significantly stronger than Cyclone Jasper in the state's north earlier in the week. To give you an idea of just how fierce these winds were, this Cessna 172 on top was actually tethered to the ground 4 parking bays down. The cable has snapped and it's been dragged about 50 metres this way, and there was no smooth landing. It speared straight into another aircraft.
We're at least ankle deep at some point in water, if not higher up our legs.
The roof of this motorcycle gear store was sprayed across hundreds of metres.
This was kind of like the epicentre, that's what we're calling it, the epicentre of the cyclone.
35,000 homes lost power and residents are bracing again because more storms will roll through Queensland tonight. Abby Guerin, 9 News.
We have breaking news out of Queensland now, where a child has been struck by lightning this afternoon. It's believed the 10-year-old girl was hit at a property in Beerwah on the Sunshine Coast just after 2:30. She's been transported to hospital in a critical condition. And a High Court judgment said to have profound implications for the British media landscape. A UK judge has ruled the tabloid Mirror group of newspapers did hack Prince Harry's phone to obtain stories. The Duke of Sussex has called the ruling vindicating and affirming, urging police to now investigate.
He's taken on the tabloids and won, at least in part, a High Court judge ruling Prince Harry's phone was hacked by the Daily Mirror. And there was in fact extensive phone hacking carried out by the Mirror Group newspapers between 2006 and 2011.
Today is a great day for truth as well as accountability.
Prince Harry's lawyer reading out a statement from the Duke, who didn't attend court, after Justice Fancourt concluded his phone was hacked to a modest extent, finding that 15 out of the 33 articles focused on in the trial were the result of unlawful information gathering. Prince Harry had accused the publishers of hacking his phone for years to illegally obtain stories about his relationship with his family and ex-girlfriend Chelsea Davy.
We've been told that slaying dragons will get you burned. But in light of today's victory and the importance of what is needed for a free and honest press, it is a worthwhile price to pay.
The judge also finding Piers Morgan, former editor of the Daily Mirror, was aware and involved.
I've never hacked a phone or told anybody else to hack a phone, and nobody has produced any actual evidence to prove that I did.
The Duke's been awarded more than $260,000 in damages for the distress caused. During the dramatic 7-week trial, he'd spoken of suffering bouts of paranoia and depression. Mirror Group newspapers saying, where historical wrongdoing took place, we apologise unreservedly, have taken full responsibility and paid appropriate compensation. Prince Harry became the first royal in 130 years to appear in a witness box during the trial, and the evidence heard there, along with today's judgment, could have big implications for his other phone hacking cases against British newspapers. Harry's feud with the UK's tabloids far from over. In London, Karianne Greenbank, 9 News.
Well, Sydney families on the hunt to secure their dream home before Christmas flocked to the last auctions of the year today, but a cautious approach saw many fall short. While agents are optimistic that buying will heat up again in the new year, more interest rate hikes may see a slow start to 2024.
Two Castle Hill homes, two auctions.
Just a wonderful private setting here.
And just two bidders, with offers sitting just above $2 million.
Start low and watch it grow, as they say. 2.1.
But it didn't grow much from there. No deal, both properties now going to market, with owners asking above $2.5 million.
This is land value at this type of price. And we're seeing a lot, the land value's gone up a considerable amount in the Hills District.
Bigger yards and more room to move, attracting many to Sydney's outer suburbs.
I just feel it's right size for a family, so my son can kick balls over there.
Majority of the house here is the 4-bedroom.
Lots of people are allowed to work from home lots of the time as well.
The Hills District was one of Sydney's most in-demand regions this year, securing 4 places in the top 20 most popular suburbs. Cat Eye and Kenthurst gaining the most interest following the Central Coast, with Bella Vista coming in at number 10.
There are plenty of options right now for buyers, with 839 homes going under the hammer in the last big auction week of the year. That's a 20% increase on the same time last year.
More choice, meaning less competition.
We're probably seeing buyer numbers around the 1 or 2 kind of buyers, whereas maybe 2 months ago we were seeing 3s and 4s.
While the higher cost of borrowing may be hampering buyers, it hasn't yet slowed the growth in prices, increasing by 8.4% across Sydney this year.
The cost of living at the moment is definitely having an impact on people. There are homes in certain price ranges that last year would be flying out the door.
Interest rate uncertainty making it hard to forecast what's in store for 2024. In Castle Hill, Madison Scott, 9 News.
After weeks of intense intrigue about Jerome Luai's future, today we have an answer. Our cameras were there when the 3-time NRL Premiership winner told his Panthers teammates he's leaving the club at the end of next year to join the West Tigers. Now we'll cross live to Penrith in Sport to get all the details on his 5-year deal. Well, time for a check of today's weather, and it's hello to Kate.
Hello, Mark. It was a hot and at times windy day. Strong westerly winds making it feel just as warm on the coast as in the west, with gusts of up to 61 kilometres an hour recorded at Richmond and 50 kilometres an hour at Camden. Temperature-wise, Sydney Olympic Park and Penrith were our hottest suburbs, reaching 37 degrees, 36 at Bankstown and Badgerys Creek, and 35 in Camden and the city. Fortunately, a cool change is sweeping the suburbs as we speak. I'll let you know how long the reprieve will last after sport. Mark.
See you soon, Kate. Thank you. Well, a home and a car destroyed by a fire at Bexley. The urgent Christmas electrical warning from authorities. The cause of death of Friend star Matthew Perry finally revealed. The moment a man tossed grenades into a council meeting. The 4-month-old baby sucked into a tornado, found alive in a tree. That incredible story next. A home in Sydney's southwest has been destroyed by fire. An overloaded power board in the garage ignited the blaze. It's prompted authorities to issue a warning ahead of Christmas to look out for dangers around the house.
A power saw to a garage door. Fire crews gain access to the threat inside, and it's far worse than expected.
We were just sitting here at home and all we hear is loud explosions, almost sound like fireworks. They came out and there was no fireworks, so they started smelling like, like batteries or something.
A car engulfed, supercharging the blaze along Millsop Street at Bexley around 10 last night. The home then catching alight.
We saw flames bursting out of the house.
An adult son inside escaping, then helping others amid the panic.
Going up and down, trying to get the neighbours out their houses, making sure all the neighbours were safe.
A brand new car and garage destroyed, and a home which will now likely have to be knocked down. A reality hard to grasp, just days away from Christmas.
not much you can do when it's that big. What do you do? Everyone's safe, that's really what we're worried about.
Electrical fires are now one of the most common causes of blazes, particularly around the holiday season. Fire authorities are urging people to look out for the hazards, usually hiding in plain sight.
Don't overload them. Make sure you've got your major appliances, air conditionings, microwaves, fridges, straight into the power point, not power boards. If they're starting to look off colour, they're turning a light brown or an off-white, just start to have a look at and consider replacing them.
In Bexley, Hayley Francis, 9 News.
An autopsy has revealed Matthew Perry died from the effects of the anaesthetic ketamine. A 54-year-old Friends actor was found in his pool in October. Drowning was deemed a secondary factor and his death was ruled an accident. A Ukrainian politician has detonated multiple hand grenades during a village council meeting, injuring at least 26 people. The man entered the headquarters in the middle of a debate about finances, asking to speak before activating the explosives. It's being investigated as an act of terrorism. More than 500 people have been sent to hospital after a rush hour crash on the Beijing metro. 102 people suffered fractures when two trains collided on the snowy metro line. It's believed to have been caused by a signal and braking malfunction. Well, an incredible story of survival has emerged from the destruction of the deadly Tennessee tornado. A 4-month-old boy sucked up in the wind, found alive and laying in the branch of a tree.
A baby's playpen wrapped around a tree, the family's mobile home obliterated.
The roof came off first, the tip of the tornado came down and picked up the bassinet with my baby Lord in it, and he was the first thing to go up.
As the tornado hit, Sydney Moore dived on top of her 1-year-old Princeton.
Literally, the moment I jumped on him, the walls collapsed. I was being really crushed. I couldn't breathe.
Sydney's fiancé reached for their 4-month-old baby Lord, but he'd already been taken by the wind.
I thought he was dead. I was pretty sure he was dead and we weren't going to be able to find him.
Tossed into a tree 8 metres away from the bassinet he was sleeping in.
It looked like a little tree cradle. He was just laying there.
Now safe and happy with just a scratch on his face, his mum holding her boys a little tighter tonight.
Those kids are what saved me. They saved me from everything, and I don't know what I would have done without them.
Sophie Upcroft, 9 News.
Well, in the news ahead, the early morning emergency wake-up call for Mascot residents. We meet the Australian woman making astronaut history at NASA. It does incredible work supporting families in need, but now a Sydney non-profit is struggling to keep up with demand due to the cost of living crisis. And Dame Edna Everidge lights up the Opera House one last time. A car has been destroyed by fire in Mascot this morning. Fire and rescue were alerted around 5:15 and found the vehicle fully engulfed. It's not known what sparked the blaze. Well, the US has been home to a human space dream, and a woman from the Northern Beaches is vying to make history. She's travelled there on her journey to inspire others. Catherine Bennell-Pegg wants to be the first Australian woman astronaut, and now she's a little closer to that goal.
One small move for Catherine, one giant leap for her dream.
It's good. It was tight on the head coming through.
Catherine Bennell-Pegg is reaching for the stars.
How's this feel, Catherine? Finally having this helmet on, you got the torso on, you're almost ready to go.
I'm almost ready to go. I definitely feel one step closer.
This is the first time Catherine has donned a spacesuit.
I've got plenty of room in here to move around.
The 39-year-old engineer and mother of two, originally from Sydney's Northern Beaches, is Australia's first female astronaut candidate.
When I first saw this Australian flag on the flight suit, it was a special moment.
She's travelled to Houston, a home to NASA, and where Collins Aerospace has been developing the next generation spacesuit for astronauts bound for the International Space Station and beyond.
Like if you put your arm straight out now.
Every basic movement is tested, as are others needed to help work in space. This suit is lighter than others and has taken 5 years to get to this stage. It could be another 3 before it travels beyond Earth.
Okay, I always had a philosophy when doing a spacewalk is make yourself right.
Guiding Catherine through this process is Danny Levis. He's been to space twice and knows what it's like to have your office outside, high above the Earth's surface.
What's it like passing on your words of wisdom to the next generation? It's exciting. It's exciting. Space is about the future, and so we have to constantly be looking above and beyond.
Catherine is not the only Australian here. Brisbane company Ray Tracer brought its virtual reality technology that it hopes could be fitted inside this helmet to help astronauts train for space. That's where Catherine wants to be. Her training with the European Space Agency finishes in April.
It's moments like these that make you step back and go, wow, you know, what would my 10-year-old self be thinking right now?
Of these 634 people who've ventured beyond Earth, just 73 have been women.
I know it's challenging. Women are still in the minority, and that's a problem because we need diversity in all its forms to solve problems.
And for Catherine, realising her dream also means opening the next frontier to the next generation.
What do you reckon the kids will think when they see mums in the spacesuit?
They'll want one, I think. I think they'll want one.
In Houston, Texas, Jonathan Kersley, 9 News.
Well, a US jury has ordered Rudy Giuliani pay $220 million in damages to 2 election workers he defamed. Donald Trump's former lawyer falsely claimed the pair helped rig the outcome of the 2020 election.
Absurdity of the number merely underscores the absurdity of the entire proceeding. I am quite confident when this case gets before a fair tribunal.
Giuliani says he will launch an appeal. Well, lost luggage is a common downside to air travel, but no passenger expects this. 14 workers at a Spanish airport have been arrested on suspicion of stealing $3.3 million worth of items from checked-in baggage. This is just some of the loot taken from the Tenerife South Airport that handles about 11 million passengers a year. A dashcam appears to have captured the crash that totaled Michael B. Jordan's Ferrari. It shows the actor's car driving through Hollywood when it suddenly hits a parked Kia, damaging both vehicles. Well, it has changed the lives of thousands of children in desperate need, but now a Sydney non-profit is the one asking for help. The Dandelion support network is struggling to keep up with demand. It's seen a 30% increase in referrals this year from families struggling with the rising cost of living.
At 30 weeks pregnant, Karolina Kozlovska found herself powerless to prepare for motherhood.
I went into labour unexpectedly, so I was not prepared at all.
Doctors stopped the labour, but Karolina stayed in hospital, waiting to welcome a baby, with no baby supplies.
We were struggling financially, so it definitely put a lot of pressure on us.
Thankfully, the Dandelion support network stepped in.
I've received every single thing I needed and more. Premature clothing, car seats, pram, high chair for feeding, toys.
One of thousands of families who have received a helping hand when they needed it the most.
Only requirement for a family to use our service is that they're financially disadvantaged.
As the cost of living has skyrocketed, so too has the number of families in dire straits.
So we've had a 30% increase in referrals this year. We're helping about 80 to 90 families per week.
The charity is now struggling to keep up. It relies on donations for the essential items it gives to children of all ages in Greater Sydney, the Illawarra and some regional areas, including clothes, toys, linen, car seats and cots.
Things don't change, Dandelion might not be here into the future.
A team of passionate volunteers is keeping the wheels turning at the Tarrant Point warehouse, including 72-year-old Jan Fallon. She looks after shoes.
No one else wants to do shoes, but I think they're so important.
Carefully sorting through donations.
We try to give the children the best quality we possibly can. They might just need a little wash.
She's been coming in week after week for the past 6 years.
Well, if it's not good enough for your grandchildren, it's not good enough to hand on.
The warehouse may be packed to the brim with items, but the need is so great that nothing lasts long. Dandelion desperately needs more space, but a more urgent issue is rent. It's becoming unaffordable. Dandelion has received a grant to buy a warehouse, but 18 months on and still no luck in Sydney's challenging property market.
Our rent is a real money drain for us, so we've been through a quarter of our savings.
The non-profit welcomes financial donations, quality items and, of course, new volunteers. One of them is Carolina. 5 years on, the mum of two is now thriving and giving back.
It's just so rewarding packing all these items, and I can put in all my love and care knowing just the faces of the people who's going to receive it.
In Tarrant Point, Annalise Bolts, 9 News.
Our harbour had a pink and purple glow last night. The sails of the Opera House adorned with a tribute to Dame Edna Everage. Hundreds had gathered there hours earlier to celebrate the incredible life of the man behind the purple glasses, Barry Humphries. We'll move over Bali, the overseas holiday destination Australians are flocking to, and how it could be cheaper to fly there in 2024. And the King's private coronation moments revealed, the cameras going behind the palace curtains. And Danika is here with sport and big news on Jerome Luai.
Yes, good evening, Mark. Luai told his teammates today he won't be at the club beyond next season. We're there for the emotional moment he broke the news, plus we'll have all the details of his new deal. Also, Australia's Quicks leave the visitors reeling on day 3 of the first test in Perth. All the highlights next. And an 18-game losing streak finally comes to an end in the NBA. It's been a dramatic day for Panthers star Jerome Luai, who told his teammates he'll be leaving the club at the end of next year and is set to sign a monster deal with the Tigers. Michael Shamus broke the story and he joins us live from Penrith. Michael, what are the details?
Yeah, Danika, the deal is worth a mammoth $6 million over 5 years. That's around $3.5 million more than what the Panthers were willing to put on the table. Now, no deal has officially been signed as yet, but under the NRL new rules, the Panthers do have 10 more days to come back with a counter-offer. Now, Luai, he also retains the right to reject the Tigers' offer and potentially open the door for bids from rival clubs, with the Bulldogs sniffing around with a 5-year deal on the table themselves. Now, earlier today, Luai, he informed the coach and his teammates of his decision to leave the reigning premiers at the end of 2024, and he's on the verge of joining Benji Marshall at the West Tigers. Now, Nine's cameras, they were here today to capture all the drama as it unfolded.
Panthers players sweltering in the Penrith heat this morning. Jerome Luai running alone as he continues his comeback from shoulder surgery. The premiership winner putting in the hard yards after getting through an even tougher conversation with his coach, telling Ivan Cleary he's leaving the club he loves. The 5'8" then pulled his teammates together, and this is the moment he told them he was on the verge of signing a deal with the Tigers. A rub of Romy's head before players put their hands in and came together again. In a show of support, handshakes and hugs were aplenty between one of the most popular Panthers and some of his best mates. Later re-emerging, he needed a staff member to open the club gates, which were padlocked to keep cameras out. But Luai's never been one to shy away from the spotlight.
Thank you.
Hey, Romy. Cappuccino? The superstar's next stop, Tiger Town. As long as Luai doesn't have a change of heart and back out of his 5-year deal, the 5'8" will arrive here at the Tigers' Concord base in 12 months, ahead of the 2025 season. This afternoon, Luai posted this on social media, saying, "No pen to paper here. I'll let yous know when a deal is done. Big love." Zach Bailey, 9 News.
Australia is back at the crease and building on its huge lead over Pakistan, but David Warner won't be contributing after being dismissed for a duck. Warner's misery comes on a dominant day for the host, bowling the tourists out for just 271 as Nathan Lyon inched closer to his 500th Test wicket.
On a pristine Perth wicket with plenty of pace, Pat Cummins didn't need warming up.
Straight through him. Third ball of the morning. Cummins rattles the stumps.
Landing an early blow,
bringing Pakistan's biggest threat into the contest. Babar Azam proving stubborn.
Beautifully driven by Babar. Such an elegant, graceful player.
A dogged partnership with Imam ul Haq putting important runs on the board, leaving Australia's quicks frustrated, prompting a change of tactics.
Edge and gone, and Mitchell Marsh and Perth. It had to be, didn't it?
The hometown hero claiming the prize wicket of Azam and sparking a rapid collapse.
And he does there, and he's gone. He couldn't help himself, Imam ul Haq.
Australia taking 3 for 14 inside 6 overs to leave the visitors reeling by lunch.
Got him!
What a delivery.
Pakistan's towel was determined to put up a fight, digging deep under pressure. Test wicket 499 fell for Nathan Lyon by the slimmest of margins, but was left agonisingly short of his magic milestone, with Travis Head left to claim the final scalp.
Big swing, shouts of catch. Khawaja stands underneath it, takes the catch.
Australia taking a commanding triple-figure lead into the final session of day 3.
I thought overall we were quite disciplined. If anything, could maybe just push up another yard or so, but overall, pretty happy.
Nicole Dunn, 9 News.
Western Sydney has temporarily reclaimed top spot on the A-League ladder after a gritty 1-0 win over Adelaide United. The lone goal ending a 2-match winless run for the Wanderers, but there could be consequences, with midfielder Josh Brillante facing a lengthy suspension for this studs-up challenge. Tottenham is putting pressure on the Premier League top 4, winning back-to-back games for the first time since October. Against a desperate Nottingham Forest, Spurs showed plenty of defensive resolve when reduced to 10 men in the final 20 minutes, winning 2-0. It leaves Ange Postecoglou's men 5th on the ladder for another week. 4-time Ironman champion Ali Day has won the series opener at Manly. Day was unstoppable, finishing the endurance race 1 minute ahead of second place, while 2-time series winner Lana Rogers clawed her way back to chase down the pack, winning the women's event in a sprint up the beach. The San Antonio Spurs have ended their longest losing streak in the franchise's history. After 18 straight losses, the Spurs finally snapped their drought with a win over the Lakers. The 129-115 victory also saw 7 players finishing with double figures. Plenty happening in sport. Mark, it's hard to believe that it is the NRL off-season, but there's a lot of excitement building.
Still a lot of news. Danika, thank you. Inner West residents urged to have their say on Parramatta Road's redevelopment. Australians aren't willing to give up on their holidays. The positive signs travelling could soon set to get cheaper next year. The big men training to save the littlest lives. Sydney Roosters stars put to the test. And 2-year-old Harry has been battling brain cancer since he was a baby. Today his wish to meet the Wiggles came true at Olympic Park. Well, time's running out to have your say on part of the redevelopment of Parramatta Road. The rezoning proposal would keep heritage buildings while adding medium-density housing around Leichhardt, Taverners Hill, Kings Bay and creating 1,600 new homes. Submissions close tomorrow. Well, whether you're planning a holiday at home or away, chances are you'll be copping higher costs. But despite everything getting more expensive, Aussies are committed to travel, and there are positive signs on the horizon for next year, with one destination in particular that's captured our hearts.
Smiles at Sydney Airport, just the start of holiday fun for the Cranes. The Wright family of 6 is jet-setting to Japan.
A couple of days in Tokyo, then the bullet train down to Osaka, Universal Studios.
Their overseas adventure won't take them far from one familiar sound, the Australian accent. Airbnb says Australia's top searches for overseas stays in 2024 are overwhelmingly in Japan. 8 out of the top 10 cities, Taipei and Hong Kong, also make the list. Skyscanner data also reflects a growing love affair. 3 Japanese cities in its top 5 trending destinations for next year, along with 2 in China.
Places like
Korea as well. So Seoul is starting to trend, which could be the next Tokyo.
Closer to home, headline events are also inspiring a jump in tour tourism, with a rise in staycation bookings on Airbnb.
Places like Homebush, Moore Park, Parramatta, they're all places which have got things like Taylor Swift, Pink, the cricket, all of the concerts and sporting events coming to town.
But whether it be at home or away, we're paying more. Since the end of the pandemic, the cost of travel has skyrocketed faster than inflation. Extra international flights will hopefully ease the pressure in 2024, including to Japan, China, Vietnam, Singapore and the USA. And Qantas will fly Perth to Paris direct just in time for the Olympics. No such luck domestic. Amex GBT predicts a 3.1% rise in prices in 2024.
Despite higher living costs, it seems many Australians aren't willing to sacrifice their holidays. CanStar asked Aussie savers which expenses they were reluctant to give up. Travel came in number one.
When there's a will, there's a way.
Because we have somebody to stay with, it doesn't matter.
What we've paid $5,000 for in April this year, now it's going to be $15,000, so that's a huge saving.
So find a friend's couch, book early and start packing. Annalise Bolt, 9 News.
Roosters players added a new skill to their set today, taking part in CPR and safe rescue skills with the Royal Life-Saving Society of New South Wales. Daniel Tupou and Billy Smith were among the 12 players, along with coach Boyd Cordner, putting their newly learned techniques to the test at Icebergs in Bondi.
Proud to do it, and obviously very important coming into summer.
A test of a different kind for the players. Well, a wish came true today for 2-year-old Harry, who suffers from brain cancer and cerebral palsy. The Starlight Foundation arranging for him to meet the Wiggles. He and his family were chauffeured to Kudos Bank Arena and given a private suite and a special sing-along.
Everybody clap. That's it, Harry. Everybody sing. La 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 la. Bow to your partner.
Harry's highlight, a ride in the big red car on stage. It was an historic royal occasion, and tonight we've been given a behind-the-scenes look at the King's coronation. A new documentary, narrated by Helena Bonham Carter, shows the King joking around with staff moments before leaving the palace.
So, should we go get ourselves organised down there?
The 90-minute documentary will air on Boxing Day. Coming up, Kate with the weather.
Hello again. We'll see some cloud developing over the city tonight ahead of a much cooler day tomorrow. Some suburbs might even get a shower or two. Right now in the city, it is 26 degrees, 32 in our west. The forecast for the rest of the weekend is next. It was a hot and windy day across the city. Temperatures well above average. Most suburbs recorded maximums in the mid to high 30s. Parramatta and Kellyville reaching a very hot 37 degrees. Fortunately, we're seeing cooler southeasterly winds pushing north along the south coast and Illawarra, and we're feeling that change here in Sydney now too. A trough triggered more severe thunderstorms in the far northeast of the state today, but didn't deliver the heavy falls we saw yesterday, while gusty westerly winds and heat persisting behind that trough led to extreme fire danger ratings over much of the region. A scorcher in Walbert and Narrabri today, where the temperature soared to 39 degrees. A broad trough will draw heat across the interior and cause showers and storms in WA's east and South Australia's west tomorrow. Ex-tropical cyclone Jasper will continue to bring heavy rain to the far northeast, while troughs could deliver another day of showers and storms to southeast Queensland and northeast New South Wales too. Brisbane could be in the firing line. 33 degrees forecast tomorrow. Partly cloudy in Canberra, 29. Sunny in Melbourne, 24. Mostly sunny in Adelaide, 29. And looking good in Perth too, 30 the top there. It should remain mostly clear across our state tomorrow. However, there is a band of cloud hugging the coastline. A high fire danger rating has been issued for the Central Ranges and Hunter. It'll be partly cloudy in Newcastle, 25 degrees. Cloudy in Wollongong too. The slight chance of a shower, 24. We're expecting expecting a very different day in Sydney tomorrow. Mostly cloudy in the morning before clearing to a mostly sunny afternoon. After an overnight low of 20, the city is expected to reach a top of 27, which is still a couple of degrees above average. It'll be significantly cooler in our west too, with a slight chance of a morning shower or two in our outer suburbs. 29 forecast for Blacktown, 28 at Liverpool and in Kellyville. Looking ahead to Monday, partly cloudy, 29 degrees, really heating up again on Tuesday. 36 with a chance of an afternoon storm. It'll cool off again on Wednesday, the temperature dropping back to 23 degrees with showers likely in the second half of the week. It'll be a hot one on Monday in our west, 35 degrees, even hotter on Tuesday, 38, before the maximum temperature drops by 17 degrees to 21 on Wednesday. We'll get some cooler nights too, down to 17 on Wednesday and Thursday. After the heat, it will be a nice change, and we might also get a better night's sleep, Mark.
Thank goodness for that. Kate, thank you. That is 9 News for this Saturday. Deb Knight is next with a current affair. I'm Mark Burrows. Thanks for joining us. Have a great night.